Okay, welcome everybody. It is so good to see you. We are excited about this. Happy Leap Day. Happy Leap Day. Looks like
It's off, but it's still talking.
your speaker's on, but we are excited to have you guys. We thought what better opportunity to do on a bonus day like this than to meet with you and share with you what we have going on. We are excited about what we have to offer to you today. Essential Energy has been in business for officially 4 years. But I started offering these solutions and these services several years before that. And then just this last year, starting in December, we actually launched a nonprofit. And so our business is now primarily a nonprofit. It's a 508 nonprofit. And we did that for a couple of reasons, but primarily because we are offering educational services and solutions that are designed to help us steward what God has given us to the best of our ability, given the environment we're in, given the times that we're in. It is imperative that we do everything we can to live well, be well, to move well, to think well, and eat well and pray well. And that is our mission. That is what encompasses what we have. So we have educational services as well as solutions. And we offer these educational services specifically to help pass along information, to pass along the things that we've learned over the years that have worked, that work consistently and faithfully onto you, so you know what you can trust and rely on. And I am so delighted to be joined today with three very special friends who have combined a vast amount of experience and knowledge and have tried so many different things, and now it's been distilled down to the best practices. And so Dr. Will Winter, a holistic vet, will be talking with us about livestock and the large ag solutions that we have and the things that he's experienced as a holistic vet, why it's imperative that we have solutions that are EMF protection, bioconditioning, and environmentally solving some of the toxic issues we have to give our animals the best life and the whole wellness that they can have. And then we're joined with Dr. Marlene Siegel. Dr. Marlene Siegel is an integrated holistic vet. She's in Tampa. And we are so privileged to actually be able to run this webinar from her clinic. This is an amazing clinic. I wish I could give you the entire tour because it is a beautiful clinic. If you ever have an opportunity, you need to come visit. It's decorated, it's hand painted, but it's got some of the most advanced therapies and modalities of any clinic in the world. She's been working on this for years. And the pets that she has come in have amazing results. And we're so privileged to be able to partner with her and work with her in her practice. And we just want to say thank you to Dr. Siegel for making this clinic available for our webinar today. Finally, we're also joined by Fred Foster. Fred is a longtime friend, and he has an incredible amount of experience with the super concentrated mineral water. And that is what I want to bring him on. This is a product line that I've had available for a couple of years. It's time now that we need to integrate this into our daily activities and daily lives. For those of us who solve the problem with EMF protection, we get that EMF stress down, we improve our environment in our home. The next things we need to do are nutrition and minerals. And Fred's going to help talk to us about what he's seeing with these minerals and why we've added them into the Essential Energy product line. So that's a quick rundown of what we're going to cover today. It's quite a bit, but we are so excited. The time has come. Like I said, I've been running the business for a few years. It's been growing slowly, but methodically and carefully. And today we are just sitting on enough quality data and a quantity of data that we need to start sharing that with you. There's also a lot of questions that I receive around how to use the products, what the products do, what they are. And so I thought, it's time to both share a little bit more about the products, answer those questions. And we're not going to get to all your questions, not all of them that you have, but I still would like you to write your questions in the Q&A. That Q&A is very important. I will be monitoring that throughout the session tonight. And when you do, we will try to answer your questions live right here. And whatever we don't, we will follow up with answers for you after the webinar. But we are going to try to get through a lot of things so you can understand what makes these products so special and unique. There's a lot of products out there now around EMF and EMF protection. And the question is, what can you trust? And that's what we want to help you understand and be able to make that decision for yourself. Everything we say, it's research purposes, it's educational, and we are we encourage you to do your own research with these products, see what works best for you, how to incorporate them into your life so that you can get the most out of them as well. I think with that we can go right over to the products. Let me just check real quick to see if there's any questions. I see one.
Hey, Dan, how's my sound volume?
Great, Will. Yeah, we'll just check around. I forgot you guys are actually on. So Will and Fred, you can say hi. Marlene will bring Dr. Siegel on in just a minute. Yeah.
Okay. So you can hear me okay?
Yeah, we sure can.
It wouldn't be a Zoom call if there wasn't a technical problem.
Hey, no technical problems here. We're live and we're loving it. Happy Leap Day. What a special day. So yeah, so I'm gonna bring up my good friend, my son, Joshua, my buddy, he's with me, but after we pan the camera over, he'll come around. And I see one of your questions here about electroculture, and we will definitely answer that. Appreciate that. Let's see. Now, Will, did we solve your sound issue? Everybody, can you all hear us okay?
I can hear you, yes.
Great. Okay, excellent. All righty. Okay, come on, Josh. So here we are. These are our, bring it over a little bit more. Josh, all the way around. So we can get the whole, yep.
Yeah, I just needed that to be.
There we go.
so I can
Perfect.
get it.
Oh, a little bit back. Okay, perfect. All right. So what we have here, we have all the products on display for you. We start off with the pendants here. We have two different types of pendants. We have the essential pendant, which is what we typically wear around our necks. You can see we have right here. They also have, now we have a pocket pendant. So now the essential pendant is the best place to wear this is right over the thymus. So you find the thymus with your 3 fingers, right underneath your collarbone right here. You go right down, and right below that 3rd finger is where your thymus is going to be found. That's an important area within your body. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot of blood and oxygen flow coming around. Also, the thymus is very important for your immune system and keeping and helping that function really well. So that's a key place for putting that pendant. Now we have 2 chains that come with the box. Here's the box that you get. All the boxes come with an introduction to the product and also instructions. But you'll get this stainless steel chain, and that can be adjusted. It has an adjustable leg to it. You can also take it and make it shorter if you need to. Sometimes we didn't shorten his yet, but or clip that off. You can take and clip this off. You don't need to leave it dangling there. But it sits there and it can be underneath the clothes. Now, a lot of people do ask me, now, if these are photonic, and I didn't actually, I'll get into that. If they're light based, they need light to work. How is it they can be under your clothes and still function? Well, what activates these plates is natural photons. So all forms of natural photons, and those photons can be visible light. They can be the UV, infrared. They can also be the light that your body produces. They're called biophotons, and our body produces light. And so underneath your clothes, all of those photons, visible or otherwise, actually can pass through the body, and they are strong enough to activate these plates even when they're under your skin, or for the pocket pendant if it's in your pocket. So we like this particular one, the pendant, really close to the skin, right against the skin. Now you can have it on your neck. You could also have it if you have a wristband. And one of the poll questions I had or quiz surveys I had, we might show up in the webinar is, would you, if we had a standalone wristband, is that something you'd be interested in? Or would you like something that you could clip onto your watch wristband and have it placed there? So some people with their iWatches or different smart watches might want to put the pendant opposite that to counteract and mitigate the electromagnetic radiation that comes off the smartwatch. So I'd love to get your feedback and opinions on that. Feel free to put that into the comments or the chat, and I'd love to look at those questions, that feedback later. So the pendants, all of these plates, the other thing about these plates is they all go through the same process. So there's no minerals, there's no crystals involved in our plates. They are stainless steel. They're a high grade, 316 grade stainless steel, but they're a unique stainless steel that has a mirror back finish. And that mirror back finish is what makes it look, really just like a mirror, which is interesting, but it activates a stronger reflection, a stronger resonance, and allows us to structure the light. And when it goes through that process, we're using the physics of plasmonics and the physics of vortexes to really amplify the coherent light that is resonating off of these plates. So every metal has a resonant photonic or resonant field on the metasurface, and that field can be modulated with plasmonics. They use it with diabetic needles. They use it in satellite solar panels and semiconductors. Just a lot of industries use plasmonics. We're taking that and we're actually using it in a very novel way to make it work and create coherent light and what we call resonant photonic harmonics. So when the photons hit the surface, they'll put a little energy into the plate, but a majority of that energy reflects back off with the energy of the metal. And that's why we see the wavelength is in the visible spectrum is silver. That's the wavelength of the photon that comes back off of the plates. Well, there's all sorts of harmonics that come off of that along with that photon as well. And just like with sound, there's harmonics. There's also full spectrum or analog sound. There's the same principles apply to light. And so we're able to modulate the surface of the metals with, it's not a film and it's not a layer, but it's actually altering the metal itself. And that makes it a permanent fix. So another question I get often is, do these wear out? And the answer to that is no, they don't. Because the metal itself is altered. And so they're always going to do what they were designed to do when you receive them. So a couple of ways you can use these light towers is in a process I call painting. I'm going to use a water bottle first to show that. Because there's energy, there's coherent energy coming off of this, you can energize your water and just by putting over the plates like this, or on the side. Now this is called, I call it painting, because it's like we're painting the water. And you can paint your cell phones as well. It doesn't take long, but if you paint your cell phone, what ends up happening is the phone actually becomes more coherent. We have a whole body, a whole group of individuals who are very sensitive to electromagnetic radiation, and to the point where they even feel their hand tingling or warming up or getting itchy when they hold the cell phone. And what happens when we do this is that those individuals actually say that feeling kind of goes away, and it can go away for a week or 2 weeks. I think products that say it's a forever change might be misleading. We try to be very honest and transparent. I think that they can last longer than that. It depends on how the phone is used and how often it's charged and how often it's plugged in. Because once you plug it back into AC electricity, that starts to alter the phone. So we're in this constant battle against the incoherent energy from alternating current and electricity with the coherent light that would come from the sun or what we've engineered here. So when we're painting this, about 30, 45 seconds, you've energized that water. I would say by now, and Will, you could testify to this probably too, I think 9 out of 10 times people will say the water is smoother. It changes its texture. It's a little richer. It's a little smoother water. after it's been. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, and not everybody has retained their ability for taste buds. You know, we burn it out with a lot of things, but the majority of the people, I'd say 80 to 90%, what we do is they say, well, how could that be? Well, go get me 2 identical glasses of water from the water fountain over there. We're usually at meetings or conferences, and we'll structure one and not the other one, and then we'll have you taste them. And people, the most common word is like, wow. That is really, it's like velvet on my tongue. And then, of course, that's what it's going to do for the rest of your body. It's going to be structured water, and that's what our bodies need. We do not need more chaos in our lives, especially with material, physical chaos. So it's really a good way to prove these work. And one of the most common comments I get, and you touched on it, is people will come up and they have some other pendant or they have a shungite crystal or something. And they go, well, is mine any good? Does it work? And the real easy answer to that is like, well, can you feel it? Do you feel anything from it? And the majority say, well, no. And I said, well, take it off for a week, put it in a box, put it in tinfoil or something. See if you notice any change. And that's what people notice about wearing these pendants. They notice it usually the first night of sleep. Or just during the day, their thoughts are more clear. So a lot of this is all about your subjective experience. Does it work? Can you feel it? Well, let's hope so. And can your plants feel it? And can your pets feel it? Can your livestock feel it? Can your crops feel it? And that's what convinced me when I met you. I have to say that just a natural born skeptic. I'm not a scientist in that field like you are. Dan came out of the high tech industry, so I had a lot of respect for his engineering abilities. It's something I don't have, and that convinced me to the day I met Dan. I bought one of these for myself and one for my wife, and I've never taken it off since. And the one time I did take it off, I was at a meeting showing it to people. And after I was in a kind of a bar restaurant, and there were TVs everywhere. And after I had it off for about 15 minutes, people were playing with it and structuring their drink. It's like, can I have my little thing back? I wanted it back on. I haven't taken it off since. That was a year and a half ago. Yeah. So yeah, that's the real experience, is to see what.
Well, and I had another customer who got a pendant, and for the first 2 weeks, she didn't really notice that she could tell anything about it. She took it off and thinking she was going to just give it back, and because all my products have a 30-day money back guarantee. We stand behind our products, so if they're not working, we want to know about it. We want to call. I'd love to talk with you, but even no questions asked, send it back, and we'll return it. Return the money. So but she was going to do that, and a couple days later, she just felt like she was just on edge, and she couldn't really figure it out. And all of a sudden, her spouse just says, "Well, you took the necklace off, the pendant. Do you think that might have anything to do with it?" And she thought, "Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll put it back on." And she put it back on, and felt better, but didn't notice a whole lot really. She even says like, I don't think I really noticed a big change. So she wore it again for another week or so, and thought, well, then she went out for a dinner and wanted just to take it off, put a different necklace on. She forgot to put it back on, and about 3 days later, she was all anxious again, and that's what convinced her. She says, well, maybe I don't know that I feel it, but I can sure feel it when I don't wear it. And I think there's a spectrum of customers who, that's on one side, they don't really notice it when they're wearing it, but they notice when they don't, because their body, it's all about the environment we're in, and our mitochondria really care about the environment. They really care if it's coherent and balanced, or if it's artificial and stress inducing. And when it's balanced, we just feel we're going to be more healthy and balanced, less stressed out. But our mitochondria will be working better, so our ATP production is better, our energy production, and really our life force and our vitality is higher, our resonance is higher. And I have had people who've worn these products now for years. They'll be walking, down the street or in a group with people, and people would say, "You just look bright. You look healthy. You look brighter than others." And there's a consistent theme around those things. Now, that we continue to see. To get back into the products here, so we have the 4-inch light tower, we have the 5-inch light tower, and the 7-inch light tower. And the way I think about how to pick which one to use, because I get that question a lot. Well, how do I know which size to use? And I think about it like I started explaining it this way. It's like water going over a waterfall. How much water do you want to go over that waterfall? And it kind of is your situation. What are you wrestling with? How severe is the environment affecting you? And how quickly do you want to reverse that effect of the environment? And so the more water, which is the more light, the stronger that effect is going to be. So these pendants might be a little trickle. The pocket pendant is about 10 times stronger than the personal pendant. The light towers, it's all about the surface area, so they're a larger plate, and the 4-inch has 3 plates. The 5 and 7-inch both have 5 plates. It's a significant amount more of surface area, and that's just a lot more water going over that waterfall. The 4-inch light tower does come with a runner's belt, so that you can wear it around you. You can also wear it. You can strap it around different parts of your body if you need to. If you want to put it around your knee, place it on your hip, or even on your torso. Those are some ways that people do use this, and they can use the runner's belt. A lot of people also are really wanting to create a clean and balanced sleeping environment. And any of these light towers can actually be placed under your pillow or next to your pillow in bed. A way better option than putting your cell phone by your head is putting one of these light towers. One of the first things you should do is stop using your cell phone in bed. Get it out of your bedroom, or at least far on the other side of the bedroom, and on airplane mode for the night if you can. I know not everyone can turn their phones off at night, but airplane mode is a great option if you can do that. Just reduce that electromagnetic load in your bedroom as best you can. Also, try to ground your bed if you can. If you need to, if it's a metal frame, it'd be really important to do that. There's other things. I think our website has a list of 20 or so things you can do for free to help improve your sleeping environment. But every light tower has an indicator line on top, on the face of it, and it shows when we treat these plates, the plates do have an alignment aspect, an orientation to it. And so this indicator line, when you're using it on your body to create an environment, again, we're not healing or curing anything. We're just creating an environment that your body can live in within your biofield. Above your heart, in general, you want above your heart, you're going to put that indicator line towards you and towards your pointing up towards your head. So I'm going to take that indicator line, and then for Josh here, I would just take and I put it like this, and again, you can paint yourself or paint people with it. Just wherever you feel like you need help creating a better environment and better balance, that's what this will do. And you can do this with the 4-inch, with the 5-inch, or the 7-inch. And when you use the light tower on yourself, you don't necessarily need to have the pendant on either. You can do one or the other. Now, the other thing about the 5-inch light tower comes with this bag. You can place the 5-inch light tower in here, and you can carry it over your shoulder. And then the 7-inch light tower will come with this bag. It's a little heavier duty. The 7-inch light tower is heavier, and that's also a shoulder bag for you too. So those come with those products. The other thing that we did just released this last year was a home stand. So I call it a home stand. It's a stand for the 5-inch or the 7-inch or the 4-inch light tower. The 4-inch stand is a little smaller, but you can take the 5-inch light tower now and you can place it inside here. You got the that's funny. I can't really reach it because it's around the corner, but you basically take the shelf out. And you'll put this on the shelf. I think I knocked the shelf. It's funny. This was the very first one that we made, believe it or not. We don't have this pattern on here anymore. We now have a different pattern that shows more of the light rays coming up. But needless to say, it's in there. You can take the stand, the light tower, and place it in here. Now, there we go. Thank you so much, Dr. Siegel.
Takes a surgeon.
That's right. We need, yeah. So you put it in there and you can put it in just like that. Now, on top, you can see I have tomatoes, I have some lemons. Put that right on there. This is going to actually energize anything you have on the top. So that's why I designed the stand to have that. You can put your water there. You can also put these off. You can put a phone on there and treat your phone that way. Now, what's unique about this stand? It's not just a standard, a regular stand. It is handmade. It's beautifully crafted, but it has scalar technology embedded in it. It has an antenna similar to this. Going to be embedded into the stand, and when this scalar technology engages with or interacts with the light towers, it takes the field. This light tower has a field that's just the width of these plates, straight out like a laser beam, just a coherent beam of light. When you interact with this with this coil, it actually expands that field out of various distances. So for the 4-inch light tower, we feel like it covers about a 400 to 600 square foot area on the stand. The 5-inch light tower on the stand with that scalar technology is about 1.5 acres. And then the 7-inch light tower goes out around 3.5 acres. Now, the thing that about all this is that we are continuing to look for ways to make these things more versatile and more accessible for you. And that this has become a big component of that for a lot of people. And you can set this up on your kitchen counter or your bed in your bedroom on your nightstand per se, right by your bed, or you put it in your office. There's so many ways and areas you can put it in. And when you want to take it out and just use it on yourself, or you're going to go on a trip, you're going to travel, just take it out of the stand and bring it with you. It's very easy. You can actually fly with these as well. So what I do when I travel, like this is another big question I get often, is what do you do when you travel, like through for air travel? Well, I'll tell you one thing. This 4-inch light tower goes with me on every trip I take. I love it, and it fits right in my back pocket. I take it with me everywhere I go. And when I go through security, what I do is I'll just take it out of my carry-on bag and I set it in the tray just like a laptop. And that way security sees their metal plates, there's no harm, there's no concern. And the good news is we've actually had these products tested with helicopter manufacturers and shown causes no harm to anything. So there's no concerns there, but they do travel really well. And that's really helpful because in those airplanes, you have a lot of people with a lot of phones in a small space. And if everybody's streaming internet from the satellite internet provider that's hitting that airplane, there's a lot of EMF inside that fuselage. And so this is a very helpful tool to have for that. One of the first customers I had actually bought it because she would travel and she would always have to build in 1 to 2 days at the start of her trip and then on back when she got home to recover from the travel because she would get sick just flying, but she had to fly for her job. Her first time traveling with this, she flew to Paris from Seattle. She had no jet lag and she didn't need that 2-day recovery time. It was a tremendous outcome for her. And that was beautiful to hear. And she had the 4-inch light tower on that trip and she's flown with it ever since.
I'm glad you mentioned travel too, because motel and hotel rooms, you and I travel quite a bit. It's really helpful when you're in a hotel because there's so much Wi-Fi in a hotel. You and I go to a lot of convention centers and arenas, same thing. There might be 300 to 500 cell phones in a room. And so we're getting everybody's interference. So having this in your pocket or in your bag, it's an amazing difference.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that kind of wraps up. So we do have the geofield conditioner as well. So we have 2 conditioners. We have a home conditioner, an office, or so 3. We have a home conditioner, office conditioner, and then the geofield conditioner. And Will, this kind of brings us into the next phase of this discussion. I do want to, before we jump too far, I'm going to go look at the Q&A. But hey, let's give Joshua a round of applause. Appreciate him coming in and helping me today. Thank you. let's go, you can go spin the camera back, and then we are gonna talk about the geofuel conditioner over here. I wanted to say, okay, there was a couple things actually, before I do that, that I want to show everybody, so. Here we go. All right, Josh, we can come back over here. Okay. Okay, so one of the questions we have on here is, can you kind of discuss the cancellation effect of your products if they're pointing towards each other? So, okay, Josh, right on here. So if I was to take the 4-inch and the 5-inch light tower, let me grab that 4-inch. And if there is a phenomenon with these products, Josh, right here. Yep. That there's a phenomenon that if they are pointing towards each other for an extended amount of time, we have found that they start to negate each other, nullify the effects of what we've done to the plates. It's a phenomenon within the quantum physics of the plates that is hard to explain or understand, but it's just through observation we have seen that. Science is all about creating a hypothesis, building out your test to go say, hey, here's the hypothesis. What are we going to do to test that hypothesis? And then do the research and then observe and document your observations. And that's what we have done with a lot of our products and a lot of the research over the years, is that observation and documenting that. And one of the things we have found is that if we stack them on top of each other for a period of time, and it's hard to know exactly how long it is, but we just say, rule of thumb, don't stack them on top of each other. And if you're wearing the necklace here, like on your chest, you can use the light tower on any other part of your body, just don't put it on the small of your back pointing towards the pendant. And that's the way to be safe. These actually are always active if they're horizontal or vertical like this. This is how it interacts with the Earth's magnetic field. So either vertical or horizontal. And when you have them like this, they'll be active. So now they're interacting with the field. Now, when they're at 45-degree angle, there is a phenomenon that it basically turns that field off. So now when then the photons hit this, it's not taking on the resonance. Again, it's a component of the Earth's magnetic field, along with the angle of the plate and how we interact, how we treat this metal and the alignment and orientation of the surface plasmons, the very core, essence of the metal itself, and how they're resonating, that when they're at a 45-degree angle, they're turned off. So if you had multiple of these and you wanted to, you could stack them like this at 45-degree angle, and you'd be okay in that regard. And then one of the things you can do, just how so we're not canceling any frequencies. All your electronics, cell towers, Wi-Fi routers, and everything are going to work just the way they will. In fact, they'll still show electromagnetic frequencies on your EMF meters. What we're doing is we're mitigating the stress effect on living systems, people, plants, and animals. And so we measure that through a pulse oximeter for oxygen. We can measure that with heart rate variability. With sleep studies, we see changes in regards to that. We can also, that's in people, we can also, so any biomarkers, if you're a biohacker, you could get really fascinated by these products and how they're playing and interacting with you as you're monitoring and managing all those biomarkers within your body. Heart rate variability being one of those key ones, as well as breathing. So if you have a spirometer, that measures your lung capacity, we have seen lung capacities increase as well as recovery time from exercising or exercising or aerobic activities. In plants, we can see it with bricks. Bricks is a great way that measures the sugar content. One of the things that's so fascinating I'm learning about is with mitochondria and whatnot is that the sun, plants need sunlight and they need oxygen or carbon dioxide, right? They take that in to create they use that to to make energy that creates the sugars and the food that we will take in. And we'll take in that food. We're eating that sunlight, which is so important for our system. We're eating that, and then we're making oxygen and water, which then that's exactly what the plants need. And so the plants and us have this relationship that we need each other, and what they need for food and for their energy is what we give them, and what we need for food and energy is what they give us. But it's all dependent on light. And that's why I love this technology, and why I'm so glad this is how we're going about the problem and solving the problem with this solution. Is it's all about light and getting us to have better quality light. Dr. John Ott talked about the issue of malillumination, which is just a chronic and fatigue syndrome around lack of good quality light. We spend too much time inside. We're in front of blue screens. We have LED lights. The quality light or illumination that we're under is harmful to living systems. We need to have more good quality light and good electron transfer, so we can do that with being out in the sun, grounding ourselves, and then products just like what Essential Energy provides. So cleaning, I want to talk about cleaning real quick, and we can maybe get into that towards the end, because I want to get to Dr. Will Winter here, and we can talk about the GeoBuild Ag Conditioner. This product is the largest product we have at retail. It is about 4 stacks of plates, 4 light towers, all arranged together, and they have an orientation that creates this broad array of energy. Now, a light tower by itself puts out a straight beam of light. The conditioner creates, because of the way it's arranged and aligned and assembled, it actually creates an array or this broad field of light. And this can go from it's just cut and cover up to 10,000 or so acres. It's a significant amount of area. And that is because of the way we're doing this. Is the technology we're using allows us to scale from personal devices like this all the way up to something that could cover large ranches because of the way we use light and the photonic resonant harmonics. So Will, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about now, talk about your experience over the last few years. We've known each other, and you've used this with your clients and people that you've been working with. I'd love to get your professional opinion, what you see out there, and why something like this is important and relevant for today.
Well, I'm so glad that I met you those many years ago, because you've changed my life dramatically. And there are problems that farmers have to deal with now that their dad didn't have to deal with, or their grandparents, that if you don't fix those leaks in your boat, you got 12 leaks in your boat and you fix 11, you're still going to go down. So this is a leak. This is an energy leak on every farm. And I wanted to clear one thing up, Dan. I had said, people can feel this, and I didn't want people to feel like every single person, when they touch a pennant, is like, they're just going to go, oh my God. It's not like that. It is the subtle energy, which is a beautiful thing, but it might not knock your socks off. There's only 1 or 2% where it would have that profound of an effect. But if you don't get that knockout feeling, that's fine. And some people, it takes days to accumulate. Well, on farms, we have another way to measure things, and it's called bushels per acre, tons per acre, stocking density. There's a lot of ways you can slice it. In the dairies, it's how many pounds of milk do they get a day? And each of these things will change. And these are the factors on a farm. On a farm, you have to make sure that everything you buy pays you back. It has to justify itself, because the margins are tight, and farming is a very difficult enterprise. I really admire farmers. It boggles my mind. There's a lot easier ways to make a living and a lot less hazardous way to make a living. There are so many variables that can kill you. Weather is your enemy sometimes. The government is your enemy all the time. Your neighbors even. I mean, if somebody is upstream from you and they're polluting, that's going into your creeks and waterways. So, yeah, I don't want to paint it too bleak. It's still a beautiful, beautiful thing, but we need to help them all that we can. And Dan is the friend of the farmer. And we really enjoy doing this. The more farmers measure, the more happy they're going to be. A lot of ranchers don't measure much of anything. They dump their cattle out in the spring, go sit in the coffee shop till fall and come get them. Maybe they drive around once a week with the pickup and kind of look at them out the window. But I love the dairy farmers because they touch their cattle. They see their cattle usually twice a day. They're touching them, they're talking to them, they're listening to their respiration. They look at the manure, which is the first thing we look at to see if an animal's sick or not. So all these biosigns that they have access to, and the more they track it, the more astounded they're going to be. I'm in mostly the grass-fed beef, pastured pork. Well, that's all I do. Grass-fed beef, pastured pork. I like grass milk. Cattle that eat just forages, no grain. Free-range chickens, run around the farm animals. That is my deal. And those are the special people. Just like everybody that's out there watching this now, you guys, I bet you don't even realize what a small fraction of the American people you are, that you're aware of this enough to listen to this thing. Most people aren't there yet. They're still walking around in a fog, can't figure out why they've got atrial fibrillation, why they've got headaches, why they've got acid reflux, arthritis, cancer, all of these things. It's going to be a while. And, Dan and I spend most of our day just telling people about how this will work, or that telling you it does work. We try to focus on the effects rather than explaining it to people. I'm not an engineer, and I don't pretend to be. I don't understand all this stuff. I don't even understand how radio works, but I know the radio works because I can hear it. I know there's little people in there singing and talking. But with this thing, I just watch how the animals respond to it, how the plants respond to it. Dan can even take a photograph of the trees and the plants around the device on the farm, and he could look at those photographs and he could tell by just looking at the leaves whether they have little smiles on them or not. One of the things we like to do is go around the farms, and I used to say, let's see if you have any EMF pollution. I don't say that anymore. I just say, well, let's see how bad it is. This is just one of the many devices we take with us out there in the field. I'm going to turn on just for a second. This is a very irritating sound effect, but this will tell us an exact number. I guess it's like a green screen. You can't always see it, but it's going to tell us. Can you hear that sound? There, by the sound.
No, Zoom has a setting that won't let that sound come through, but we do offer these EMF meters on our website as well if you want to be able to measure it. But
right, so, and we take several meters. We have the tri-field meters. I usually will bring 5 or 6 different meters. I have one that I plug into their outlets in the barn or in the house, and we can see what kind of line test we get, whether they have stray voltage or dirty electricity. This is just as important that we deal with all the forms of electrical energy. We have a couple people in our circle of friends that have atrial fibrillation, for example. I can think of 3 off the top of my head. More than one of them was scheduled to have the nasty surgery to burn out their natural God-given pacemaker, and then they under your skin install a big box, a metal box. It's with you. That's your pacemaker for life, and they don't work very good. The surgery is dangerous. It can be a fatal disease. And when those people get that big device in front of Dan there, or the geofield conditioner, they have not had another attack of AFib. So this is just one of several things we've noticed. We notice a lot with mental sharpness. I had a farmer tell me, he said, "Oh, I can't afford that thing." And I said, "Well, if you had this, you could think better. You'd probably make more money, and then you could afford it." Well, I was just kind of being snarky at the end of a long day. but it's literally true, is having your thinking cap on, having clear wits, the clear capacity to think is very important, no matter who you are, and to have good, clean thoughts. So we see all of those things. We notice it immediately in, especially dairy barns. Dairy barns have a tendency to be dirty electricity. The frequently farmer wired or amateur wired, or even electricians don't know how to ground things properly. They don't know about neutral wires. And so we really have to check the barn if they're especially with dairy cattle, chickens, pigs. And then a lot of rural electricity is maybe they're out on the end of a line, and the transformers, we've seen transformers 20, 30 feet from the farmer's house, and they can't figure out why they can't get to sleep. And that is also important for clear thinking too, is having a good night's rest is very important. So we're seeing it in measurable ways. Dan mentioned the BRICS level, BRIX. And BRICS is the nutrient density of the sap of a plant. A plant sap is like our blood. If I pull a little blood out of Dan's arm and hold it up to the light, if I can see through it like Kool-Aid, that's not a good sign, right? Well, with thick, heavy, rich sap, that is a healthy plant. So we can look at that number. It's a definite objective number from anywhere from 1 to the highest I've ever seen is 22. If I drove all the way to where he lives in Spokane and stopped every mile or two and checked the weeds or the plants or the crops, the trees, I'm going to see 3 and 4 bricks at the most. That's a pathetic, sick plant. That's a plant that's just waiting for grasshoppers or aphids or some kind of disease, fungal disease. And we know with our grass-fed beef, we have to hit an average bricks of 12 or better. And the farmers work. I started a business I call Grass Farmer Supply because I realized we're not raising cattle, we're raising grass, and the cattle eat the grass and turn it into money. So the average bricks of your plants, and it's especially true of a garden. You can take a bricks refractometer to the farmer's market, and you'll see 5 people with tomatoes, and they will range anywhere from 3 to 15. And those 3s, honest to goodness, they'll be a mush ball before you even get them home. They'd have no shelf life. They don't have any antioxidants or nutrients in them, hardly any. Whereas if you get a high bricks tomato, you could keep it in your kitchen window shelf for 6 weeks and it'll still be delicious. And it will have shelf life. And flavor and bricks are very closely related. So we're raising the bricks of the plants by helping them respirate. And that turns into a 20 to 25% increase in tons per acre, bushels per acre, however you want to slice it, into money that comes back to you to raise your production level to the highest possible level. And we're working with other things too. We like to have every farmer do a water test now, because that's another thing that your dad probably didn't have to deal with, or your mom, is water quality is terrible right now. And even the deep aquifers are polluted. If you're on rural water, it's probably got chlorine in it, might have fluoride in it. We don't know what else it's got in it. Where I live up here in Minnesota, we're in what's called the Iron Range. So the water in the creeks up north look like root beer. It's got so much iron in it. And that iron in the water and the iron in the forages gives you mineral blockages, mainly of copper and zinc, 2 of the most important minerals that exist for living things. It's going to block those minerals. It makes you not healthy. So we have to look at the water quality to see exactly what we're dealing with, and also just E. coli and various other pathogens that could be in the water. So that's another thing. Dan and I realized we can't just work on air and these invisible things. If we're going to really help farmers while we're out there, we have to look at the water too. And we have to look at the soil quality. It was really funny being in vet school. I don't think the word soil ever was said once the whole many years I was in vet school. I don't think that we talked about plants. It was like, You know, it was like, well, yeah, you put some plants in them, right? But it was like a uneducation to help us unlearn what is really important in life, and that is the air you breathe and the water that you drink, and the sunshine and all of these factors, which would now include man-made radio frequency pollution. All of these things are going to knock you backwards, and it could make the difference whether you're bankrupt or whether you're a successful farmer. It translates literally that way. So it's really nice to work with the farmers. Dan and I work with a lot of plain people, Amish. They're not listening tonight because they don't have a computer, but they listen to us, and they're very concerned because the Amish don't even have any electricity in their house, but they open their front door and they look up and there's a big cell phone tower right across the road from them, and they're getting microwaved 24/7 and don't even, well, they're starting to know it now. So they're highly incensed that this invasion of other people's pollution is affecting them. And they like Dan's devices because they don't plug in. You don't need AC current. You just set it in your living room or your kitchen or out in the barn, and it goes to town. It's starting to work immediately. And they love the cleanness of it. They don't like going to doctors. I don't either, but they like to do as much as possible healing their children and healing themselves and home birthing and all of that. So the more they can keep themselves healthy with our water information, with our activity on radiation, they love God's way of staying healthy. Our body is designed it wants to be healthy. It doesn't want to be sick, and anything we can do to free it so that it can achieve its natural wellness level, that is so much the better. So I could go on and on, Dan, but I should just let some of the other people talk. I obviously really in love with this technology. It's really helped my life a lot.
Do you, when it comes to, when it comes to working with farmers and livestock, how do they like think about the affordability of it, or because at the end of the day, it's about production. It's about what goes into the bank, and whatever they're going to use, whatever modalities they're going to use or systems they're going to place on the farm has to have an ROI. So how have you seen that ROI happen with dairies or with ranches, a lot of lives, in that regard? Is it?
Well, I wish we could make it easier for people to get on board. It's unfortunate this technology isn't cheap to make. The people that make it, it's not easy to make. And so Dan and I give our information away. We spend many hours a day giving away free information for people because we're both in the field of helping people and helping animals, helping plants as much as we can. So we give our information away, but it still adds up. On the good side, farmers are used to buying big things. They buy a tractor, they buy a no-till drill, they buy a seed crop for the whole year, they buy fertilizer. So it's not uncommon for a farmer to write a check for $5,000, $50,000, $100,000, and then they float along until they get paid back. So a lot of people, I think, see it that way. And when they see it as this is not an expenditure, this is not something that you're buying, this is an investment in more income, more profit. And as long as they are able to see things that way, you're not, unless you're buying a silly, stupid, too big tractor, in general, that tractor is there, it's going to make you money. And the no-till drill is going to make you money. And buying seed stock for the upcoming year is going to make you money. So that's how we like to frame it. And we feel like we can pretty much, I don't know if guarantee is the right word, but we can assure them that we're on their side, that we're not just here to take their money. And there are people who are, we all know that. And farmers are very skeptical. I grew up in a farm family, and everybody coming up the driveway was going to sell you the latest, newest, greatest invention since sliced bread. And, and some were, and most of them were not. So farmers are used to getting the spiel, but they want to know what works. And when they talk to Dan, particularly, his integrity and his spirituality and his scientific knowledge really comes through. So I never hesitate to send anybody, whether they're technically swift or not, to Dan to get the trust to they're trusting us, Dan, because what we are looking at as an enemy is invisible.
Yeah.
It's real easy to see a weed, and it's real easy to see a insect. But when you're looking at an invisible energy that is going to knock your family's health and knock your farm's health, it's hard to explain that to people unless they've read. I always encourage farmers or anybody to read The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Friston. There's 20.
That's on our website too. So these are resources, right? In addition to the
paperback book, it's inexpensive. This you won't be able to put it down. He's a fabulous writer, and it's basically the history of electricity, how virtually every pandemic or epidemic has been associated with the introduction of some type of new radiation pollution. So he goes into all that. So like I say, we spent a lot of time, and most farmers, the good ones they love being educated. They love learning things and things that will help them. And the farmers who are not, they're not farmers anymore.
Yeah, we've had good results. I mean, 2023 was an amazing, very interesting year for me because at the end of around the end of 2022, or at least in the fall going into winter, I started getting calls from dairy farmers that had these folks have been farming for 20-30 years, some of them, and they said, hey, we don't know what's happened, but all of a sudden we're having infertility issues, we're having pregnancy rates down, consumption rates going down. We've had mortality with calves. We've had inconsistency in heats and even production quality, like the taste of the milk is changing, and they didn't really understand what was going on with that. And they had noticed it a couple of years for the, maybe 2 years beforehand. I must have received, I received several calls, almost the exact same conversation. After 4 or 5 of them, I kind of started telling them what they were going to tell me next. It's like, oh yeah, you had fertility issues. Yes, you had your pastures. You didn't bring in as much grass as you did the previous year, and things like that. Things that just were abnormal to them, right? And interestingly, it is right around when low orbit satellite, communication satellites started to get launched up into the ionosphere. And they're in the upper ionosphere. They're about 300 or so miles above the Earth's surface. But that ionosphere is where a lot of the weather for the planet is manufactured. That's where weather is created, and the jet stream is steered through there. And however healthy the ionosphere is, the weather systems are healthy. And so when we start to play with that, with satellites and technology and communication and all of their electromagnetic radiation and different elements that they're putting out on that upper atmosphere, we start to see effects of it on the ground level. And these farmers were seeing it, and they didn't understand why. They didn't know they didn't draw the connection.
They'll say, we haven't changed anything. We're doing things right, and our production's going down instead of getting better. We thought it was going to get better, but we've seen it. But there's hardly a farm Dan and I go on that we can't see a cell phone tower or high tension power line right from the farm. And if you can see it, you're close enough that you're getting zapped.
Yeah.
So, and those are what is it, 9-fold increase or 7-fold increase in cell phone towers coming
right up? Over the last since 2020, you've had almost a 10-fold increase. From 70,000 to 700,000.
More solar energy fields, more wind turbine fields, more power lines. Everybody notices all the power lines going in.
But what we've been finding, even the farmers who are rural with that, you can't see the cell towers and power lines, are seeing that. Steve Simpson he was kind enough to give us a video testimonial. It's on our website. You can't see a cell tower from his farm. You can't even see a power line, other than just a small little transmission line that would be going to your home. he saw a dramatic shift in how his cows behaved and the fertility issues. So that happened within weeks of putting the conditioner on there. He was extremely skeptic. But he is he's a raw milk producer, and he was very skeptical. But within 5 weeks, he looked at his wife and said, I think we're going to be able to keep the farm. So here was a farmer lifelong farmer, was actually considering selling and moving off the farm because he couldn't keep the cows healthy enough to, they weren't getting pregnant at the rate that they needed to or consistently. And he was going to have to sell. And within 5 weeks, he looked at his wife and said, hey, I think we're going to be able to keep this farm. And then not only did they get more consistent pregnancy and heats and all that, last summer, they brought in like about 30% more more, sorry, I'm spacing on more grass for their feed for the winter. So their costs for the winter were covered. So those are the things that I want to kind of share. I would like to now bring on Dr. Siegel. So Will, thank you very much, everybody. Say thank you, Will. We appreciate you. And stay around because we did have some questions. So as Dr. Siegel is coming on, I'm going to kind of step to the side and let her do her presentation. But I am going to answer some of your questions on the thread. And
technology has brought me back in touch with a lot of other fellow holistic veterinarians because we love invisible stuff. We love homeopathy. We love the acupuncture meridians, and this stuff fits right in.
okay,
Hi, Marlene.
Hi, Will, how are you? Long time we haven't talked.
I know, this is good. A good get together. Strength in numbers.
absolutely. I love having all these holistic vets around me. It's great. You should be able to share your screen. Let's see here. Can you guys see her screen yet?
Not yet.
Nope.
Right here.
Okay, here it comes.
Here we go. Share the screen. Don't want to turn up my volume. Okay, can they see now?
They can, but we can see the whole, do you want to go? There you go. Yep, this is what they can see.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay,
All right.
go ahead and introduce yourself
Hi, everybody. I am Dr. Marlene Siegel. I'm a little short, so there we go. I'll try to stand up tall.
Yeah.
And I apologize for that loud bird in the background, but Dina is not used to having us in the office this late at night, so she was super excited to get some of our attention. So what I'm going to do for you guys tonight is I'm going to show you a more tangible way to see what it is that we're creating with this technology. And it's no longer a question about whether or not we can get rid of some of these toxicities. This is truly, oh, there I am.
Yeah,
Talking.
It's
Really about how are we going to mitigate it? And that I think is going to be what's going to take us into the future. Is we can get rid of the things that we can get rid of, but we're not going to get rid of glyphosate. We're not getting rid of 5G towers. It's here to stay. We all have the cell phones. So we have to find these safer and more effective ways to mitigate the effects that this is having on our bodies, on our pets' bodies, and even on planet Earth. So I'm going to do this through live blood analysis. Now, before we get into the actual presentation, I really want to make the emphasis that aging is not a disease. We get older, but that doesn't mean that we have to age in a very unhealthy way. And as I approach my 70s, I refuse to accept the fact that, oh, we get old and things fall apart. I am on no medications. I have no health challenges, and I don't plan on having any because I'm really careful about what goes in and on my body, what's in my environment, what's in my mind. And I think it makes a huge difference. So, despite the fact that in our modern world, we have a pill for every ill and a diet for every disease, we are seeing these rates of abnormality in our pets. This is a 10-year-old statistic, guys. Cancer in dogs, 1 out of 1.65. It's nearly 100% of the animals that we're seeing age irrelevant are getting cancer. They say cats were 1 out of 3. I think that's highly underreported. And then when we add obesity, autoimmune disease, arthritis, allergies, and gastrointestinal disease, truly almost 100% of the animals we're seeing have some form of chronic degenerative disease. What's even more alarming is that pets are living 7 years shorter than they did 20 years ago. Now, with all this modern medicine, you would think we would have more longevity, but it's actually opposite. And a lot of that has to do with the toxicity that we're enduring. And then the other point I want to make is that in the allopathic world, in the Western world, they rely on antibiotics to fix everything. Even if it's a virus, which we know doesn't get treated by antibiotics, your doctor isn't going to even question what you have or what the pet has, and they just give them an antibiotic. And people are so used to that they go to the doctor expecting that. But we're not going to have antibiotics in about 10 more years. And this was from the AMA. There is such a high degree of antibiotic resistance that it's going to be more of a crisis worldwide than cancer. So we really do have to find safe, effective alternatives. And part of that is, can we live a healthier lifestyle? How can we mitigate the things that are causing the disease? And I love this cartoon because here this guy has been to every doctor in the world, and this poor doctor goes, we've exhausted all conventional measures. One last desperate option is to put you on an alternative natural medicine that has a 96% success rate. And that's pretty humorous. But we have so many of our pet clients, and I hear it in the human world as well. They go in, they have their standard testing, the CBC, the chemistry, the thyroid, the urinalysis, and their x-rays, maybe even an ultrasound. And all the tests come back normal according to the averages. And they're told, I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong with your pet, or there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe it's all in your imagination. And then it gets bad enough that you get sent to a referral specialist. And in our world, when the referral specialist runs out of things to do, they recommend euthanasia because their toolkit doesn't really offer them anything else to do. So we have the standard toolkit in Western medicine, but we're seeing so many more things. You know that old adage, if the only thing you have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. There's a lot more out there than nails these days. And so we have to have a different toolkit. We have to be able to meet the complexity of disease that we're seeing today. And that requires a larger toolkit. And it means that we need to step out of the little box of Western medicine. Don't get rid of it. Like, we're not saying that anything there is bad. I'm just saying that it's not enough to just do symptom suppression. We need to actually fix and identify the root cause of the problem. So this is the 5 keys to healing that I use. And I want you to understand that with every case I'm about to show you, this is the principles that I use. I use it for myself. I use it on my healthy puppies and kittens, and I use it on my cancer patients. And step number 1 is we got to stop doing the things that are causing the problem. And I know that sounds really simple, and it really is that simple. And it's the toxic food that we're feeding our pets. They're not eating a species appropriate diet. It's the toxic water that they're drinking. It's the EMF in the environment. It's all the chemicals and hormones and pollutants that are in all the products that are touching our skin and going in our bodies. So we really need to address that level of toxicity and either control what we can control and mitigate the rest. And number 2 are essential nutrients. Now, I know we look at our bodies and we don't really understand or pay attention to the fact that we are one big biochemical vat. And what runs our metabolic pathway are essential nutrients. These are the cofactors that actually make our bodies work and our metabolic pathways work. We know that in today's world, our food is nutrient depleted. It's not even a conversation that we have to have. There's no argument there. The farming practices for so many years have not been regenerative, and consequently the soil is stripped and we just don't have these essential nutrients. And an essential nutrient is defined as the nutrient that your body cannot produce in sufficient quantities. You still need it, but you have to get it in your diet. So if the animal that you are feeding to your pet was not on a pasture that had nutrient-rich grasses, then they're going to be nutrient deficient. Whoever eats that animal is going to be nutrient deficient, and it just keeps going. Number 3 is we have to heal the leaky gut. Number 4 is detoxification. And this is really, of all my fortes, I think this is where I'm most passionate, because I've been able to really appreciate that when the organs of elimination aren't working, even when we're doing good medicine, we make these animals a little more sick because they can't get rid of the things that they're trying to get rid of. So the 6 organs of elimination are the kidney, the colon, the lungs, the liver, the skin, and I'm going to lump the lymph and the fascia together. That's the organs of detoxification. We need to make sure that they are working. We're just exposed to so many levels of toxins that our bodies were not designed to handle, that we have to support detoxification. And then the mitochondria, we need to have mitochondrial biogenesis, a very big fancy word. That means we need more of them and we need them to work better because they not only produce the energy in the body, but they also create the communication between themselves and the microbiome. And that is what turns on and off the genetic information. This is copyrighted, but I'm happy to share slides with anybody that would like to have them. And we're going to be talking about live blood analysis. And there's 2 different ways that live blood is done. There's dark field microscopy, where the background is dark, and I don't do that one. I do light field microscopy. Now, why this is important is because when we look at the cells, all those little round things that you're looking at, whether it's light or dark field, those are red blood cells. And their job is to actually pick up oxygen from their surface area, from the lungs, and then they deliver that oxygen to the tissues. And then in the tissue, they pick up all the waste material from the cell's metabolism, and then they deliver that out the organs of elimination. Well, it would make sense to know that they need their surface area to be available, kind of like if you took a tennis ball and you dumped an individual tennis ball in a bucket of water, all the water is touching around that tennis ball. But if you pack in all the tennis balls you can possibly fit in that bucket, then the amount of water that's actually touching an open membrane isn't that much. And that's what's going to be a problem, and we're going to discuss that. Now, there's a lot of people that have controversy around live blood analysis. And if you try to use it as a diagnostic tool, if you try to sell products like nutritional live blood analysis, I have a problem with that as well, because I don't think there's any data or science to show that that is a real way that we can measure deficiencies. However, if we use it in a way to be able to look at the morphology or the condition of the red blood cell, we can see free radical damage, we can see parasites, bacteria, and yeast, and we can see undigested proteins and fat. We also can see anemia. But the most important part that I use it for is to evaluate the 4th phase of water. Some of you out there who took science a long time ago, you're going to immediately say, what is she talking about? There's 3 phases of water. We learned that in school. No, there are actually 4, and I'll get to that on the next slide. But we talked about why these red blood cells are so important in order to deliver oxygen and get rid of waste material when they can use their surface area. This is a condition called rouleau. And I never really understood what was causing this. And Dr. Winter and I were taught that rouleau is normal in horses and cats. And I will tell you emphatically, it is not. In fact, I posted a case in a technician group, and some guy actually made the comment, oh, rouleau is normal in cats. And I'm thinking, wow, a belief system? Yes. The truth? No. Because I can make this go away in a multitude of modalities in horses and in cats. So it is not normal. This is even worse than rouleau. This is almost called aggregation. And those are all supposed to be nice round blood cells. And you can see that they look more like cuboidal crystals and not a real white blood cell. This is a slide of an animal that has anemia. And the way we know that, scientifically defined, is that we have a lot of large cells and then we have a lot of small cells. And there's not that many cells on this slide. And by the way we make these slides, we take a fresh drop of blood, we put it on the slide, we put a cover slip, and we read it under 100x oil. So we're not adulterating it or stating it or doing anything else. We're really looking at the morphology of what's there. Now, the work I'm discussing is coming from Dr. Pollack, who is a very well-respected scientist at the University of Washington. And he's got tons of TED Talks. He's got a lot of stuff on YouTube. Again, very well-respected scientist who has really helped us understand the 4th phase of water. The 4th phase is a gel phase that lives between the liquid and the solid. And then he defined the space around the cell or the organelle as the easy water. And he called it easy water because it's the exclusion zone. And what happens is when this cell in the center, the little round part was called a red blood cell, it forms this structured water or fourth phase water, which is a negatively charged phase. When it is expanded, it pushes all of the positive solutes into that bulk water. This is an extremely stable configuration, and that's how he's able to explain surface tension in the water where bugs can walk across it, and also why clouds are able to stay together without dispersing. So this happens in our body. But when we are exposed to things like EMF, toxins, hormones, chemicals, pesticides, many things I've seen just crush that fourth phase of water, contract it down, and now the cells can no longer separate from the other cells around it, and that's when we see rouleau. So now we're going to show you a couple of cases. This is a person who I did a study for a company, and they were wanting to see what the baseline was. We literally tested the person to make sure there was no EMF exposure at the moment I drew the blood. And then we took a fan that had a USB piece to it, so it had a lot of EMF. And we exposed the person, we drew the blood at that point, and then we gave them an EMF protection device, and 20 minutes later, we drew the blood again. So baseline, no EMF exposure, exposed them to the fan, and then within 2 minutes, we took the blood and looked at the differences, and then we did a protection, and then we did the blood 20 minutes later. So if you look at her baseline, there's a lot of rouleau, there's 2 to 3 cells together. And then when we did the EMF exposure, a lot more cells got stuck together. And that's that whole process of collapsing the fourth phase of water. And then when we protected her from the EMF, you can see that at least 80% of her cells have separated. And it turned out she was anemic as well. And when I mentioned that, she goes, "Oh yeah, I'm anemic." This next one is, this is actually a video. And you can actually see how agitated the cells were when exposed to EMF. And then they're much, much happier when we were able to separate them. This was another friend of mine, her baseline, really cruddy looking blood. And it turns out she actually had cancer at this time. And then we exposed her to the EMF, and you can see her cells in the center. Oops, why is that?
Oops.
Is that you? So in the middle slide, you can see like her, she really crushed that fourth phase of water. And then we did the protection, and her blood was able to separate out decently. So it was better in each one of these cases, it was better than where we started from. And I'm not moving forward. Let me see. Okay, when I click on that, it made it go wonky.
Okay.
So this was a racehorse, and I did a study where I did 6 horses in a barn. We did their initial baseline study, and you can see every single horse that we did looked like the initial baseline study. And then we put a device on the horse, we breathed them, that's where they run around the track. And then when he came back in, I did the blood, and we could see that his blood cells had separated. And then I waited 165 minutes, still wearing the device, and I did the blood again. And you can see a dramatic change. So again, these are video, so you can see that it's not artifact. This was really the blood. When we get that really bad looking blood, I make anywhere from 4 to 8 slides to make sure it's not artifact. And that was legitimate looking. Then I left devices on the 6 horses, came back a week later, all of the horses looked like this. But what was really interesting is I went to do 6 new horses in the barn, and they all looked like this. And I couldn't do another study because they had all entrained to the devices that were on the 6 horses that I started with. So I thought that was really interesting. Now, this was a dog on the left that came in, ain't doing right. We call it ADR. And you can see the blood cells were kind of stuck together, not looking really great. And then we did a PEMF device. I just want to show you how many different things can actually affect the fourth phase of water. And you can see in literally 24 hours, the blood totally different. This was a case I did of a dog before giving rectal ozone. And on the left, you can see a lot of aggregation and rouleau. We gave rectal ozone and then 10 minutes. And the only reason it was 10 minutes, it took me that long to give the ozone, put my stuff away, go get a needle, come back, set up the slide. And now you can see a dramatic difference. And these cells literally have beautiful energy and they're really nice morphology. You can just see that they, even if they bump into another cell, they don't stick to it. You can actually see them bumping and then just sliding right off. This is Popcorn. We're going to see Popcorn twice tonight, but this was Popcorn. He had inflammatory bowel disease. This particular day, he was vomiting, not eating. He had diarrhea. I'm doing a assisted lymphatic therapy on him. This is a device that produces a microcurrent and inert gases and negative ions. And I do it all over the body. This was his blood on the left before I treated him. And then on the right was immediately following the lymphatic therapy. And that is such a dramatic difference. Just love watching that. This is little chunky 2-year-old kitty cat that had gone to a referral center for itching. And they gave him a shot of steroids. They used depomedrol. And less than 1 week later, the cat went into heart failure. I'm not saying it was due to the depomedrol. We don't really know what triggered it, but he went into heart failure. So the owner came to me, wanted to have something other than what the referral center was offering in the way of drugs, and the cat wasn't doing it, didn't feel good. So on the left-hand side, this is where I started with the live blood, and you can see not terrible rouleau, but not great looking cell morphology. On the right-hand side is after his very first treatment of lymphatic and our PEMF device. And what was more interesting than this is that clinically, he started eating, having more energy, he felt better. And every week when we do his treatments, he continued to make progress. When he went back to the cardiologist for a follow-up, the cardiologist did not know how to explain why his heart was improving. This was a cat that was very, very sick when it came in. And on the left, it really kind of looked more like a mosaic of crystals. It didn't even look like blood. We used our PEMF device. On the right-hand side was after 1 hour, and it still has rouleau, but at least we can recognize the cells now. This was before day 2 treatment. We did 4 consecutive days. And then after day 2, we could start seeing some individual cells, but it wasn't great. The magic was after our 3rd treatment. So we saw the blood right before we did the treatment, and then after the treatment, we had full cell separation. We did day 4, the blood remained looking good before and after, and then we checked 3 weeks later and he continued to look that good without further treatments. Little Suki went to a referral center for very severe vomiting and diarrhea. Liver enzymes are off the chart. They said Suki had severe liver disease. He probably wasn't going to live. And they got the vomiting and diarrhea under control. And then the referral center said, you need to go find a regular vet to continue the care. So Suki comes to me, and this was Suki's live blood. And you can see in the background, there is a bunch of bouncy stuff. That was fat that wasn't being digested. And Suki had been fasted already for 7 hours. So that should never have been there. Lots of rouleau, lots of fat in the blood. When I checked the triglycerides, they were 2,514, and that is exceedingly high by anybody's standard, human or otherwise. So we started doing a diet change. We started adding some enzymes, but really in 1 day, how much are you going to get done? And we used our PEMF device, and we can see that in the background, there is about 50% reduction in fat. He's still not fully converted over to a raw diet, but we're moving in that direction. And the cells look markedly better. Day 2, I didn't get the live blood done. This is day 3. And when I play this, pay attention to the background. There's some yeast in the background, but there's nothing bouncing around. And the cells look beautiful. In conjunction with that, we see clinical changes in the dog, which is cool when you're able to take something tangible and see the changes under a microscope and then correlate that with how the animal is changing. You know that's not just in your head and you're not making it up. So we started with triglycerides at 2,514 with all the fat in the rouleau, and 1 week later, this triglycerides were down to 125, which is normal range, We used no drugs. All right. This is Little Burger. Now we're going to do a change using music or frequency. And the frequency we were using was 444 hertz. So he really came in just for a wellness check. He was on his way to the University of Florida to have some little fatty tumors removed. And they just wanted to make sure he was doing okay. So we did his blood on the left and we saw a slinky in his blood and he looked terrible. And then we did the music and immediately after 10 minutes of music exposure, his blood separated. So my point here is to show you how many things can actually affect that fourth phase of water, which makes a huge clinical difference. This is Ratchet. He was 6 years old, a male neutered bully. He went to his vet because he had broken a tooth. The vet took the tooth out and it didn't stop bleeding. So they sent him to a referral center. The referral center did a workup and they diagnosed him correctly on a needle aspirate of his spleen and an ultrasound with having splenic lymphoma. So it's cancer in the spleen. This is literally how this dog came to me. He felt terrible. He had no energy and he didn't want to eat. This was his blood on presentation. Again, kind of like the cat. It just looks like sludge. And we did our PEMF device because I didn't know Dan yet. And in one treatment, we can start seeing the cells are breaking down to smaller clumps. We treated him for 4 days every week. And at the 3-week mark, we were able to get the cells to separate. And that's when he clinically started to make a big change. He started having more energy. He was feeling better. And then we were doing a lot of other therapies between IV therapies and photodynamic therapy and many other things, diet changes. And we re-ultrasounded him at the end of 10 weeks. And he was confirmed by a board certified radiologist to be free of cancer. He had no more cancer in his spleen. So he went from that to that.
I hope you took that flea and tick collar off of him.
Yes. And then this is little Michael. He was just eating processed foods and he wasn't doing well. And we did this change with our vitamin mineral mix. So just nutritionally able to separate the fourth phase of water. We started him, it was about a week before we retested the blood and you can see a dramatic change. This was a snake bite. This is one of the few times in Western medicine that they actually do live blood. And this are echinocytes, and this is a hallmark of a snake bite. All the blood cells get these little ridges and spikes on them. We did our treatments, including laser, including ozone, including antivenom. And within 18 hours, not only was the blood better, but all the swelling was down on the right-hand side. You can see 36 hours. She recovered fantastic. Here's Popcorn again. When Dana came, we wanted to actually do some cases together and see. So we were testing the 4-inch tower, the 5-inch and the 7-inch tower. So he is going to explain to us what he's doing with the tower. Now, Alyssa, my daughter, is holding the tower in her right hand and just aiming it at Popcorn. Get the sound on.
Oh, let's see. Well, I'll just narrate over the top. I'll do a voiceover. So now what we're doing, see what we have the light tower vertical. We looked at the meridian lines of a dog and how they were going and moving. And there's probably more research we could do with regards to that. But what we want to do is we want to align the light tower, and we want that hashed line, I think if you can see that, in line with the energy, the flow of energy for the dogs. Did the video stop?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's what we're doing. We're just treating the puppy.
So we did 10 minutes, did the blood beforehand, and then 10 minutes after. And Popcorn is on a raw diet, he's on all of our supplements, but he's also in an environment where he's exposed to tap water and she travels on airplanes a lot. This is a service dog for his mom. He lets her know when her blood sugar drops too low. And so he still has exposure to glyphosate and EMF and a variety of other toxics things that in his environment. So here's his blood on the left, his pre-treatment. And even his pre-treatment is still a lot better looking than most of the dogs that we see on an average basis that are eating processed foods. But you can see that he has probably a good 40 or 50% of his cells have just a little bit of toxicity to have a little bumpy area around and not a lot stuck together, which is great, but they're not that big, beautiful clump cell. 10 minutes after the, 10 minutes after the 7-inch tower was pointing at him, that was his blood. And we just thought it was a remarkable improvement in 10 minutes, which can you imagine if you have this in your home and he was just immersed in this all the time and his blood could stay that good. This is Bruno, and Bruno's 4.5-year-old male Great Dane. And he has some polyps in his rectum, so he came in for me to evaluate that. And we took advantage of doing his live blood and treating him. And I think we also used the 7-inch tower on him. So he's also eating a raw diet. So his blood isn't as horrible as most of the ones that we see, but we certainly still see a good variety of toxic cells. And he's drinking mostly Dasani water out of a plastic bottle. So there's still a lot of toxins coming through that plastic. And their environment is not 100% pristine either. No EMF mitigation whatsoever. And then we did 10 minutes on the 7-inch tower. And again, it's a dramatic improvement to his blood. Then this is Lychee. This was a kitty cat that came in. Lychee was pretty much in the 11th hour. And we decided to do something with the tower. Now at that time, I only had a 4-inch tower. So we put the tower under the cat. And it was 45 minutes later that we tested the blood. I didn't have a 7-inch tower, but now that we've done several cases, I'm pretty sure had I had a 7-inch tower, this would have improved a lot faster. But we could see that a lot of cells separated and a lot of them did clump up and have a much better morphology. And the cat started feeling better.
Yeah, and I'll just say, it kind of, to me, this shows the difference in the strength of the light of the products. So, you know, I'm kind of talking about how much water going over a waterfall, but it's also how quickly do you want to see a result. And these, you know, we're seeing the data here, difference between 10 minutes and 45 minutes. We did have one question about how to orient this, so I just want to hit that a little better. You want it to be in line with your body's energy flow, or in this case with the dogs or the cats. So above the heart, you want the hash line towards you or towards the subject. So whatever if it's the laptop here, going towards the laptop with the face towards that. And that's what we're going to use to treat this computer or the puppies. I think that hopefully, Jerry, that helps answer your question. I know that's a good question and it'll come up again, and feel free to always ask anytime, but that's how we try to orient it.
We also laid the cat on it.
There you go.
You know, that was the other thing that we did. We had it still pointing through the head end, but many times we just had her sleeping on it, and we would have her on for an hour. And then we would take her off for a couple of hours, and then we would put her on again. And that's because we know there's an energy draw there. We know that we're physiologically affecting the flow. And when they're already depleted and they're already very stressed, you don't want to just take and burn your fire out. You know, like with acupuncture, you don't want to do too much. You want to lightly pump and make the energy come up. You don't want to just put a big log on and knock it off. So we were just doing on and off, and that was really helping her a lot.
One other relevant question here too is, the question was, is there a horizontal effect as well as vertical? With these light towers just by themselves, there is a slight horizontal radius or radial effect, but a majority of it is vertical. The reason we developed the stand was to help produce a stronger horizontal field. So that kind of addressed that issue. And then the conditioner is a horizontal and vertical. So that hopefully, Jasmine, that helps answer your question.
Excellent. So this is our last case. This is Juliet. She's a Great Pyrenees that has been having problems with vomiting and diarrhea. And we did her which is on the screen. Didn't look terrible. And then we treated her with the 5-inch light tower. Saw some improvement. This was 10 minutes, but then watch this. After that, we did the 7-inch tower, and it is a dramatic difference from the pre and 10 minutes of the 5-inch. So this really helped me to solidify that the 7-inch really does have an effect over the 4 and 5-inch. So the difference between a master and a beginner is that the master has failed more times than the beginner has ever tried. The other quote that I really love is if you can, you must, and if you must, you can. I think that's Tony Robbins. And my absolute favorite, which falls in line with my philosophy, is that there really is no failure. And the reason for failure is simply a lack of resourcefulness. So that's why I'm always looking for technologies and tips and tools that can help my patients get healthier, faster, and these towers are quite amazing. And EMF is just really one of the most devastating things that are affecting our animals. And, you know, I've got tons of computers all over here. We have a lab full of equipment. We have technology monitoring and surgery. So they are inundated in an EMF field. Having these technologies inside which can help mitigate all of that for these animals is really priceless.
Marlene, the slides are excellent quality. I really like those slides. They're just very dramatic.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Siegel, and yeah, I really appreciate it. Didn't have any other specific questions right now for you on this, so I appreciate it.
So I'm gonna close my computer and say goodbye.
Yeah.
I'll watch on the other one.
Okay, now, I am going to launch a quick poll here. I think you can answer this question while we transition. We're gonna actually, so I'm gonna answer a couple more questions while you're doing this. So the question was, how do these products interact with copper wire antennas in the garden? So electroculture is a big deal and it's quite effective. It's all about conductivity and electricity and moving the energy and frequencies through. This is going to enhance that effect. We've seen that in plenty of gardens, and a lot of experts in the electroculture talk about that, how when you create a better environment, those modalities, those approaches are improved. So we've seen that too, and I'd love for you to try it and see what you say and what your thoughts are as well. But with copper wires, we would expect to see an enhanced experience and outcomes with that. So France, thanks for that question. So I'm going to demonstrate for David real quick, demonstrate the way to structure the water again. So I'll grab the water. We just placed it right over the light tower here. The light tower can be going any direction, but if it is set up on the counter like this, then I would have it set towards magnetic north. That's a unique thing we didn't talk about yet, but one of the things that these plates are activated on are by the Earth's magnetic field. With the geofield conditioner, it's very important that you do align it with magnetic north. It comes with a compass for you to do that. We use the field compass for that. And the light towers can, when they're set up in the stand or just on the counter, we would also recommend having it aligned with magnetic north to increase the output of the field. So this is all you have to do to energize that water. So David, I hope that helps answer your question. Thank you very much. Let's see. You know, and only actually to structure, yeah, Nancy, thank you for that. To structure the water, it really, we find less than a minute, about 45 seconds, 60 seconds is usually what I say. You can go longer. It doesn't hurt to go longer, but it'd probably take around 45, 60 seconds to get that full energizing effect. So then the last question I have here is, do you have a recommendation for putting it outside if you want them around your garden or a specific outdoor area? Should they be in a case or something to protect them from the weather? Yeah, we do recommend that. Now, the metal is stainless. It's not going to corrode, but think of these as mirrors. You do want them to be protected and stay bright and shiny. So you're going to want to clean these. And this might be a good opportunity for me to show you how to clean them, because I don't think I've done that yet. Now, to clean them, what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to do this probably every week or two, is you're gonna take. Now, the first thing I do is I should see is there any heavy dirt? If there's heavy dirt, I'm gonna go to run fresh water on this and just wash the heavy dirt off. Once the heavy dirt is off and it's still wet, I take some alcohol-free eyeglass cleaner. You can also use gum spirit turpentine mixed with a little bit of vinegar. And it's important that it's gum spirit and not petroleum based. So we want all natural products on this. And you're gonna just really cover the surface of this light tower. And then now again, there's an alignment factor. And when we have the hash line is here on this side, I'm gonna take my soft rag cotton towel here. I'm gonna move it in directional with that line. So starting on this side, I'm just gonna move it straight, not pressing hard, because I don't want to put in deep scratches. Now you're gonna get some hairline scratches. That does not affect the plates. What will affect it is if you get a gouge, a deep scratch, that could affect the resonance effect of the surface plasmons on the plates, and that could lead to problems. Now, you are gonna receive, when you buy these, they may have little hairline scratches in the plates. These are manufactured, they're produced that way, but we know we do 3 rounds of testing before we send anything out to a customer. And most of those are going to be done before they go through our treatment process. So any of those things that are done before, like the laser etched mark, is done before our treatment process. And so that is not going to affect those deals. So you can be confident that when you receive these products from us, they are in working order and they are dialed in and working really well. But that's just how you clean it, just like that, nice and soft. Always want to have some liquid on there. Eyeglass cleaner is, I think, really good cleaner for this. Just move it softly. So that's kind of how you clean it. And let's see. You can do this, yes, Nancy, you can do this with pet water, you can do this with plants, water, anything you're watering, you can set it there. And that's one of the nice things about the stand is you can put a pitcher of water on top of that, and that's your drinking water for the day. That's one way to do that. Or for your animal, if they have their water, you can put it over the top of this light tower for a period of time, and then that water is structured. David, yes, you can paint the water with the pendant. It takes a little longer, maybe a couple of minutes. But again, all these products are treated the same way. It's just how much photonic activity is coming off those plates. Probably give the pendant a couple of minutes with a glass of water to treat that. Some people even put the pendant in the water, and that might be an easier way to do it as well. Yeah, so Nancy, you keep your light tower in the canvas case all the time. Is this okay? Yes, that is not a problem. That's a great, it's a protective case for it. And you are not running into any issues with it. And that case is been tested to be compatible with the light towers. And you're not going to run into any problems keeping it in that case. There's plenty of photons that go through that case to activate that light tower and create that benefit. So now, what I want to do is I want to give context for Fred Foster and our super concentrated mineral water. And the question is, why would we have this product in our store as well when we are really doing so much with these light towers and pendants and conditioners? And in my family, one of the things that's become really a daily thing is, one, we're living with these products. We've integrated them into our life. They're one of our number one tools when we become ill or have dis-ease, is working with these light towers. It's the number one thing we go to. But the other thing we know is that our water is not this pure water anymore. We live in the city. It has a lot of toxins. It's not pure. There's a lot of runoff, herbicides, pesticides, other things like that get runoff into the water. And water is so critical. Dr. Winter mentioned it earlier, that having structured water is really critical for absorption. Hydration is something that we all suffer from. You almost drink a glass of water and you're still thirsty. And the question is, well, why is that? Well, we're not getting the hydration we need. So water is really, really critical. And when I met Fred and learned about these minerals, I was blown away and I had to try them, and we use them every day. We set it up in our kitchen with a 5-gallon bucket. And I've got a large family, I have 7 children, so we go through a lot of water. But that becomes our drinking water. We filter the water, and then we put the water into this 5-gallon bucket, and then we add these minerals. And Fred has been working with these minerals for 12 years. He has a vast experience with the minerals and a lot of testimonials, and one of the only person I know who has that much experience with them. I mean, it's just they've been around for a while. They're Japanese volcanic mineral salts, and they have high in sulfur, and they really activate the glutathione process, which is detoxing, that binds things. I want to right now, Josh, move the camera. I'm going to show you the minerals, and then Fred, I'm going to ask you to give some of your experience with them. So this is the sizes that we have. Yeah. Might just unplug the other. Okay. So these are the sizes. We have the 32-ounce bottle. This will treat 250 gallons about of drinking water. The 8-ounce bottle is a new size for us, but it does about 55 gallons. And that's about, I think, about a month's worth for 2 people. And then we have the 2-ounce. This is perfect for traveling. So my travel kit is the 4-ounce or the 4-inch light tower, and one of these on every trip I go to, any airplane, airport water or hotel water, I'm putting drops of these in to purify that water and mineralize it. And you can see what we did here. Well, I'll let Fred, when you got working with the minerals, what have you seen over the last 12 years with these minerals, and why would they be so important and beneficial when we've created an EMF free or EMF stress free environment? Why are this super concentrated mineral water, why is it so beneficial?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Well, I just want to thank the other 2 guest speakers. Their presentations were awesome. I really appreciated it very much. And the thing is, they just blended right in with our minerals and what happens with the minerals as well. Now, I didn't discover these minerals until I was 65 years old, and I was severely crippled with arthritis throughout my whole body. And when I discovered these minerals, I was an international executive. I was in charge of computers around the world as a vice president, 21 years. And I had no experience with really health type things. And I allowed my body to deteriorate down to where I was severely crippled. I couldn't even hold a pen or pencil anymore at 65. I couldn't raise my arms even above my shoulders. And in order for me to get out of bed, I used to have to push myself over onto my side and then push myself to a sitting position on the edge of the bed, and then push myself up to a standing position, kind of bent over till I could get my balance. And then I could take some small steps. But when I walked like a crippled old man, because at 65, I was a crippled old man. I was on pain prescription meds. They helped some, but not entirely. So I was in pretty bad shape. But what happened with me, how I happened to come about my knowledge about these minerals was I had, as an executive, subscribed to some financial newsletters, and one day I was reading one on the computer, and up popped this ad on the right-hand column that said, if you would like to learn how to purify the most polluted water in the world, sign up for this water webinar. Well, that kind of piqued my interest, because back in 1976, my wife and I took our 3 sons camping out in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains and up above the snow line and the tree line. And it was on July 4th of 1976, the 200th birthday of our nation, that we were up there, and the snow was melting and formed these little rivulets. And my 3 sons said, Dad, that water looks so crystal clear, so good and cold. We're thirsty. Is it okay if we drink from that? And I looked around and made a terrible decision. I said, well, it looks okay. And so they did, but that ruined our vacation for the next 3 days. So I learned my lesson, they learned their lesson, and it was for that reason that when this ad popped up, when I was reading the financial newsletter saying, if you'd like to learn how to purify your water, well, I have a 28-acre estate here in Michigan, and the North Branch of the Kalamazoo River runs right through my property. And I thought, well, there might come a day when I need to know how to purify that water, because I sure learned my lesson back in 1976. So I signed up for that water webinar. And on that water webinar, I saw this man pouring this liquid into a pond that was filthy, filthy polluted. You couldn't even see 2 inches below the surface of the water. And when he poured this liquid in this pond, and there was some time-lapse photography of the pond, but eventually the pond started clearing up. You could see it starting to have swirls in it. And after a while, you could see all the way to the bottom, 15, 20 feet down, you could see the turtles swimming and everything. But then this is the part that got me. He took a clear glass mug and he dipped it in that pond water, held it up in front of the camera, and then he proceeded to drink it. And I thought, oh my land, does he even know what he's doing? So during that webinar, I heard people saying that people with arthritis that drank this mineral water were reporting terrific benefits. Now, I didn't sign up for that webinar to learn anything about my health issues, but that certainly changed my idea of what I was getting from that webinar. And at the end, they offered a chance to order some of these minerals. So I thought, well, I'll try it for myself. So I ordered them. And when they came, I actually hid them in the back of my desk drawer because my wife is a RN. She works with the allopathic surgeons at the hospital. And I didn't want her making fun of me for falling for some scam on the internet. And so I hid them and I started adding them to my water, my drinking water in secret. I became a closet drinker of these minerals in my water. On my 3rd day, my hands complete flexibility back. Before I couldn't even touch my thumb to my pinky. And I was in pain, terrific pain all day long. My 3rd day, all the pain was gone. Flexibility completely returned on my 3rd day. On my 4th day, where I couldn't even raise my arms even shoulder high, I could now raise them above my head. I could now wash my back with a washcloth. On my 4th day, I hadn't been able to do that in years. And on the 5th morning, when I opened my eyes in bed, after taking the minerals now for 4 days, I realized I don't have a single pain anywhere in my body. And instead of doing the 3 pushes to get out of bed, I simply leaped out of bed. I started jumping up and down all over my bedroom and twisting my body every which way to see if there was any pain, and it was gone. On the 5th day, all my symptoms of my arthritis was completely gone. It's been gone over 12 years now. I'm going on my 13th year. And so, by then I had taken the minerals out of my desk, put them on my kitchen counter, started adding them to my drinking water in front of my wife. She, what is that? What are you doing? I said, well, look what's happened to me. In 5 days, I had all this stuff that had improved health-wise for me. And she agreed. Well, I'll share this with you. Those allopathic surgeons from the hospital, they've come to my house at night to get the minerals from me. I have I have thousands of stories now because I contacted the company. I said, hey, these are doing incredible things. Is there any way that I could become a distributor of these minerals? And I emailed that to the company, and lo and behold, the next morning I received this phone call and it said it was from the company. I thought, oh, the customer service is calling me back about my email. No, it was the president of the company calling me. And we talked for over 5 hours sharing all these various miracles that have taken place with people drinking this mineral water. And so I really wanted to learn more about it and everything too. And so he said, yes, you can become a distributor. And he invited me to travel with him. And we had to go down to Florida, where you are, Dr. Marlene. And we went down there and met with doctors and psychiatrists there. And I learned so much and saw so much. And I have so many thousands of stories that I could share now. But, you know, as you two veterinarians were talking and sharing your stories, I have the same stories with this mineral water. Because when you add these minerals to water, it structures the water. And we've worked with Dr. Pollock, and he has worked with our minerals. And he has clarified that these minerals do indeed structure the water and do turn them into the fourth phase of water that you were talking about, Doctor. And so it's really quite amazing. Now, Dan took some water. I don't know, where'd you get your water that you put this in?
Yeah, we got it from a kitchen sink that actually has a whole house water filter system on it. And I filled it up last night. And then all I did is I just took just a few drops, because the ratio for this is 1 teaspoon of minerals to a gallon of water. So 1
Correct.
teaspoon per gallon. So I
Or
just
5
did,
drops for
about
8
a dozen
ounces.
drops, and then I let it sit overnight. Now, can you see, Fred, what is the yellow that's on the bottom of that water?
Actually, those are ashes that have formed because of the process of these minerals being added to water. It goes into several stages. The first thing is agglutination. Now, agglutination is just where the toxins start to come out of the water, because normal water is formed with H2O molecules. You might have 32, 64, 128 H2O molecules all hooked together in either a long string or in big clusters. And agglutination starts to break those large clusters or strings apart. And what happens is the toxins that have been stored in this water in between the H2O molecules are now freed up, and they become free. And so what happens now is these minerals, there's a chemical change that now takes place, and the toxins are burned up, and there's a chemical change that happens. And then the burning up of these toxins, what happens is they start to flocculate. And flocculate, it just means they start to come together, the burned up ashes, and then they get big enough, they start to fall to the bottom. And what you're seeing there in that yellowish looking, sometimes it's brownish, it depends, is the burned up ashes that have fallen out of the water. But by this time, that water has now become structured, because now instead of 32, 64, 128 H2O molecules that are hooked together, now there's only 6. And it's called hexagonal water, or structured water, or living water. And that's what it's known as. And there's been a lot written about this type of water. And Dr. Pollock has studied this quite a bit as well. And well, the ashes that are now fallen to the bottom of that jar that you see there in the yellowish stuff, they're inert. And if you were to swallow them, they would just pass right through your body, and they would no longer harm you. Now, this man that turned out to be the one pouring this liquid into that pond that I was telling you about, well, he happened to be an atomic scientist. And this atomic scientist was hired by the Japanese government to find a way to remove the radioactive isotopes from the waters around Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And so it was while he was on that quest that he was looking out his window, and he saw this island that had been formed off the shore there of Japan, by a volcanic eruption. And there were these huge granite boulders that had formed this island. And out on this island, he saw a tree growing out of a crack in one of the large granite boulders. And this was while he was on his search to find a way to get rid of the radioactive isotopes from the waters around Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But his curiosity finally got the best of him. So he took time off and he went out to the island to investigate what was going on. And he saw that the large granite boulder that had the tree growing out of a crack, well, that crack had traveled right through these black streaks in the boulder. Now, the black streaks were made from biotite or black mica. And the rain came along and filled the crack with rainwater, and that rainwater dissolved some of the black mica and turned it into mineral water. And a bird flew by and dropped a seedling of a tree there, and it sprouted and it grew into a very strong and healthy tree with no soil, no dirt at all, just the minerals from that rainwater that had mineralized from the black mica. So this scientist, he's an atomic scientist, took samples of that water and the black mica and the granite and took them back to his lab. And when he put these minerals from this mineral water into the water that had the radioactive isotopes, it removed them. Well, he found out as he studied it more and more, and he studied how these minerals are actually made deep in the earth. And so he invented some special machinery to duplicate that process. And he patented that, and then he searched all over the earth for the highest quality black mica. And when he discovered it, then he bought the rights to it, and then he started making his own structured concentrated minerals like what Dan is selling now. And he made his own and patented it all. And when Chernobyl took place over in Russia, the Russian government hired him to come over there and help clean up their water, which he did. They were so impressed with what they could do with these minerals. They offered him $400 million to the rights to his patents. And he turned them down. He said, no, it was God and his angels that showed and revealed this to me. I wasn't smart enough to figure this out on my own, but God led me to this. And this is a gift to all of mankind, to all of humankind, from God. And I'm not going to give exclusivity to one country or one person, but I'll supply you with as many of the minerals as you want. Well, that's kind of how they got started. Then he gave these minerals to a friend of his who is a medical doctor, an MD, a cancer surgeon. And he gave these minerals to him, and he said, why don't you see what effect they have on humans? And so he did, and he started experimenting. Well, this cancer surgeon was able to bring over 50,000 cancer patients to complete remission with these minerals. And it was truly amazing. So anyway, and many other diseases as well, not just cancer, many, many, many diseases. And so when I started taking it, I got my healing. I started giving these minerals out to my friends who I could see had, health issues. And I started seeing miracle after miracle after miracle when these minerals were ingested by these people with specific health issues. And I have thousands of stories that I can tell. I mean, I can tell about myself.
You're making the case for why why they go hand in hand with the light towers and our products.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've done
that's
the blood microscopy too.
That's right. Yeah. And
yeah.
I just these are the sizes for people. You can do it for your pets. I mean, anybody can have that. We also can sell in bulk for farmers, right? And you can do foliar spray. You can add it into waters for your livestock. What have you seen around that regard?
Okay, well, I'm glad you asked that question. I have many stories I can share. I too work with the Amish. I work directly with the Amish and have become very close friends with them. Now with the livestock, for example, this one Amish family raised pigs, and they had 2 pigs that just fell over onto their sides and couldn't stand up anymore. They just couldn't stand up. And because of the terrific benefits that the humans got from drinking this mineral water, the Amish farmer decided to take one of these turkey basters and fill it up with some mineral water that they used to drink. And they just forced it down the throat of these 2 pigs. And very shortly, they were back up, standing on their feet and hopping around and started eating again. And they were completely healed. Okay, that was 2 pigs of his right there. Also, chickens. Right across the street is a poultry farmer, and they raise ducks and turkeys and chickens and geese and so on. And they had just gotten a new shipment of these little chicklets in, 25 of them. And before evening, 9 of them had dropped over onto their sides with this, I can't remember the name of this disease that goes around, but it kind of goes right through the flocks. And anyway, 9 of them have dropped over. And the wife had so much success with our mineral water that she got a little eyedropper and she started forcing the little drops of mineral water down the beaks of these 9 chickens. Well, 8 of them survived and became very healthy again. The 9th one died, but they were able to, and they saved it so it didn't go through the flock. But that was and then also we have the chicken farmers that raise chickens for egg laying, and they found that the eggs were stronger and much better to handle. Yeah, and they so there's and with the cattle as well, and horses. Oh, the ones with horses. I even had one farmer that had this horse trough where they actually put the horses in and they bathed. Well, they decided to mineralize that water, and oh my, the advantages that had. Now, I had a dog that had real problems and was getting real sick, and took it to my vet. And he says, oh my, this could be really quite serious. It is beyond my scope of being able, you could take it to the animal hospital there in East Lansing at Michigan State University. It's going to cost you $3,000 to $6,000, but they can tell you what's wrong with your dog. And I thought, oh no. So instead, what I did is I put my dog on the mineral water. And lo and behold, my dog completely cleared up. And when I took it back to the vet, he said, this is amazing. What did you do? And I told him, he said, well, I didn't have any medicine that could help your dog. In fact, what I'd like to do is I want some of these minerals. I have some patients that I do not have any veterinary medicine that can help them with their gastrointestinal problems. So he took some of my minerals and he called me back and said, Fred, this is healing my patients. This is awesome. He said, if you need a spokesman, a veterinarian spokesman for these minerals, I'm it. I have seen them personally. He had customers that had moved out of state that were writing back and said, we can't find these minerals out here. Can you send us some? And, there's a lot of animal stories that I could share. Yeah. Along with humans, because these minerals, when they structure the water, this structured water is for all life forms, whether it's human, animal, or agricultural. And also, Dr. Brian Clement and Dr. Marlene, you may know Brian Clement there in West Palm Beach, there in Florida. He contacted us and said, I want to experiment with your minerals. I have a 6-month experiment I want to do. And all of my medical people here, I want on them and so on. And they did that, and they endorsed our minerals terrifically, and the help that it did for them. But
Wow.
when I
Okay.
was,
Fred, thank you
Yeah.
so much. I mean, it's just, again, our whole mission here, Josh, I'm gonna move back over here. Our whole mission is, is to help us steward what we've been given by God, whether it's ourselves, our plants, or animals. We have to be good stewards of it all. And I believe the best medicine is natural medicine, right? Things in nature, whether it's the minerals or it's light, and light is so critical. And it actually makes the
Right.
minerals more powerful. You can actually structure the minerals probably too, right? I haven't played, you know, I've played with it a little bit. I want to play with it more. So I want to thank everyone. You've all stayed with us for so long. I've got some more questions. Josh, let's bring the camera over here. I'm going to answer these questions, and then I want to show you guys kind of just a thank you for being on the this webinar with me. Okay, so Fred, here's a question. How are these minerals different from other organic minerals we can buy?
well, a lot of minerals that you buy at the health food stores are actually crushed rock, and they are not bioavailable. In fact, we've had our minerals tested, and they have found that the cellular hydration is increased to 32% cellular hydration with drinking this mineral water, whereas normal cellular hydration is only 1 to 3%. And it actually gets into the body because now the water is hexagonal. It's only 6 sided forms of the H2O molecules that are hooked together, so it can get into the body and be absorbed 4 times faster. And when it gets into the body, what it does the same thing inside the body as what was in that bottle of water that you had there. It will detox the body. And the cancer surgeon told us that there's really 3 main causes of all sickness, illness, and ultimately disease. And one of them is a lack of high quality bioavailable trace minerals. And there's approximately, anywhere from, up to 80 trace minerals in this product. And so we're just not getting the trace minerals that are bioavailable anymore. And that's a big difference between what you can buy in the health food stores. A lot of these minerals will just go to the bottom of your septic tank. So that's number one, is a lack of high quality bioavailable trace minerals. And number 2 was a buildup of toxins in our body, whereas we live in such a toxic environment with the air we breathe from the chemtrails, from the smokestacks to the diesel fumes, all this stuff they're putting in the air. And this will allow us to, get rid of those toxins out of our body as well. And then the third thing is stress. And there's several different kinds of stress. But when you put all 3 of these things together, it causes our body's own immune system to start to shut down. And when it shuts down, then we start to get sick or ill and ultimately diseased. And drinking this treated mineral water and doing what you're saying with the light and so on, all these things can help a person's health become better.
So, and Fred, a couple of questions. How long do you have to let the minerals be in the water before you can drink it?
You can actually drink it immediately, because what happens is that the purification will continue to take place even after it goes into your stomach.
Okay, perfect. So one question was, hey, can you do it at restaurants? Yeah, my wife keeps it in her purse. And every time we go to the restaurant with all our children and everything, we just doop, 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 around all the cups. And then we wait
Absolutely.
like a minute, and then we drink it. So
that's right. That is fine. Just stir it in a little bit there and you can drink it right away. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And the minerals work in stainless steel containers too, correct? Okay.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Okay. So There is so much more to cover, and we're not gonna cover everything. I hope that we've given you a good insight into what we have. I think you all, you stayed with us, and so I want to share with you the kind of the promo we have for this leap into spring. Again, it's leap day, still leap day here, and it's a bonus day. And so we're gonna do this. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna walk you through what we have for you today. It is, let's see, let me get to where I can put this on present mode. Okay, so what we have here, really trying to get the best of everything here for you. You can use these codes on our website starting now. And I'll walk you through it, but the idea is, okay, so this is only good through the end of Saturday. And this is Saturday, West Coast time, Pacific Standard Time. So East Coast, Central, you get a couple hours into Sunday, but it's good to the end of Saturday, these codes. And if you purchase a pendant, we're gonna include a free 8-ounce bottle of the minerals with that. And then if you then go, and after you've tried this, I want you to try it first. If you want to have a monthly subscription, because it's one thing I think we want to do is, these tools are only good if we use them. So we want to find out how to integrate them daily into our life. But if you get a monthly subscription, so it comes, then we'll, on the 5th month of that subscription, we'll give you a credit for another free bottle on that 5th month. So that's the offer for the pendant. Now this is for either pendant, the necklace or the pocket pendant, and that's a $65 value for this these minerals. The pendants are $200 individually. The pocket pendant is $295. You buy 2 of these pendants. You buy 2, they're 10% off, $360, and that's all on the website too. Now, if you order a light tower, and you will receive 50% off 3 other items, either the minerals or the pendants. So if you buy a 4-inch light tower or a 5-inch light tower, or 7-inch light tower, you will get another 3 items. You will get 50% off all of them. So if you wanted to get the light tower and 2 pendants and minerals, any size, then you get 50% off of each of those, up to 3 items. That could be up to a $540 value. The Geofill conditioner offer is if you buy a Geofill conditioner before the end of Saturday, you'll receive a $750 discount on 3 minerals or on any combination of 3 minerals, pendants, or light tower products. So if you want to get the conditioner and a light tower and 2 pendants, you'd get $750 off of those. That could be up to a $2,250 value because it's $750 off of those these products. So we're trying to really be thankful and grateful for your attendance here. The QR code should work, should actually preload that discount in. So if you want to take your phone right now and snap that QR code, should take you to our website, to our store, and you should be able to go. And then if you purchase that, the pendant or the light tower or the conditioner first, and then add the other products, the discount should be applied. If it's not applied, on the checkout window, type in that code, spring 123 or spring 456 or spring 789. And the discount should get applied. If it's not, you call me right away and we'll take care of it. We'll handle it for you. If you can't get a hold of me or get through before Saturday, don't worry. You've attended the webinar. You know the code. I'll work with you after that. But the idea is this discount, this offer is good only for you who attended the webinar, and it's good through the end or registered for the webinar too. But it's good through the end of Saturday. I would just say I'm so honored and blessed to work with so many people around the country, both the US, Canada. We're also work with folks in Europe and in Asia. It's such an honor. I'm honored and blessed to be able to offer these services and solutions. And as a nonprofit it gives us some neat things. We can, if you request it, we can give you a tax deductible letter, so you can use that for your taxes. And we can also create projects that if you want to get funding, say you want to put a conditioner in your children's school, and you want to ask other parents or the community to help fund that, we can create projects that where we can crowdsource that funding for that conditioner. We can also do that for communities around where your farmers are. If you have a group of farmers that are all within an area and you want to do this all together, we can create a project for that as part of our nonprofit. So we believe we've got plenty of tools to help you get access to these products. And I just want to say thank you so much for attending today. And I want you to live your best life. I want you to be super healthy, full of vitality, and know that there are solutions out there. There is so much coming at us today, but we can be different, we can live differently, have a different mindset, because there are solutions out there that we don't have to be afraid of all the noise that's coming at us. We can be singular minded, live our best life, be a witness to others, and really bring joy to our world. And that's what we want to do. And I believe these products help us do that. So I want to thank you for your time. And please share this with others as well. The recording will be made available after this, and you can share that with other people that you know as well. So again, I just want to say thank you. I want to give a big thank you to Dr. Winter, Dr. Siegel, and Fred, and my lovely, wonderful and handsome assistant, Joshua, for helping us put this webinar on. You all are wonderful, and I appreciate it. Real quick, I'm going to look at, I got a couple questions maybe. Yes, so, yep, the recording will be available. So thank you all. Last question was, since we have the tower, do we need to do anything with vegetables we buy? Well, you can actually use these as to wash your vegetables, and I would recommend you do that. And then if you saw what I did with the stand or even with the light tower, you can take your vegetables and you can energize them. So again, these are tools that you can use. Yeah, sure. No, it's okay. These are tools you can use with your vegetables and all. So thank you all very much. Take care. Be blessed.
Thank you, everyone. God bless. Bye.
Okay, bye now.
Hi, Paul. Did you have a question? You can unmute if you want. We're unmuted right now. Yeah,